Thanks for stopping by the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here, being subbed. If you're not, hit the button. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into the real of reality TV.
Talk to me nice, talk to me honestly. Look in my eyes, don't let it fall on me. Say you a good guy, make me believe it. Don't wanna hear it, I wanna see it. See how rewind, when we rewind, feels so nice.
What up, guys? So listen, I know I'm a little bit late with this info, so let's just go ahead and get into it. So we know Kenya, she's been doing her confessionals from the salon. And in my personal opinion, I feel like this is a little bit of get back because, and she's doing it from her YouTube channel. And I don't blame her. Hey, do your thing. Because I still feel how I feel when it comes to her continuing to film on the show and being a part of the reunion. I'm not team twirl, but I just believe, and this is so funny how life works. I said before it was announced that Monique should, like Kenya should get the same opportunity that Monique Samuels, who was on the Real Housewives of Potomac, got to be able to, one, continue to film and be able to be a part of the reunion because Monique beat Candace's head into the picnic table at the winery, at the wine tasting event that they had. And so Kenya, she, wrong in what she did and stupid for where she did it. Okay. I'm not taking any of that stuff away, but I said they should have allowed her to continue to film and be a part of the reunion also because they knew what she did. It wasn't like with Monique where she went to production and said, all right, I'm going to beat Candace's ass at this wine tasting event. And they're like, okay, bet. Now they continue to film that. They showed all of it. And they allowed Monique to continue. And yeah, they didn't bring her back. And I felt that she did not deserve to come back. But I said all of that before it was announced recently that she's coming back to be a friend of on that show. So it's just looking like Bravo keeps taking these L's, and it is because they are just doing a lot of dumb stuff behind the scenes. So yeah, I'm not taking any of the blame away from Kenya, but I'm saying all of that to say Porsha, she's been doing what she's been doing on her YouTube channel, and she started out the gate pretty much saying that Kenya exposed Brit in an image of her where Brit was underage. And I feel that Kenya wasn't feeling that. So Kenya was already ready to clap back. So now she's doing it. So let's just go ahead and get into what she had to say. All righty. So here we have the Bravo Shade Room. And we're going to get into this clip of what Kenya had to say.
But Shamea and I have gone back and forth plenty of times, at least several times that I know of, because of her rocky relationship with Porsha. Now, a lot of you guys may not know, I've actually had a conversation with Shamea a long time ago. And that was when Porsha and I were not on the best terms, and we're cool now. But this was when Porsha and I were not cool. Everything that I know about their friendship, I'll just tell you. I never felt that Porsha was supportive of her being on Housewives. They had asked Shamea to be on Housewives as a housewife years ago. And Shamea refused to do it or could not do it. I'm not really clear about the details, but in any event, she couldn't do it. She didn't do it. She did not accept the offer to be a housewife or to interview to be a housewife. And I remember a specific conversation being filmed where Shamea brought up something. Maybe it was her wedding. Maybe it was Porsha not being supportive of her. But I remember Porsha saying something to the effect of, why are you doing this? Why are you over here? Why are you doing this? Do you need the money that bad? And I think Shamea was like shocked. Like, but Shamea and I
pause. I believe every word Kenya's saying. Porsha is territorial. She is, she's competitive. She's vindictive. And she does feel that that is her show. It's her territory. But girl, who are you to say who can be on it and who can't? Because it's the Real Housewives of Atlanta, not... Anyway, let me go ahead and continue.
I have gone, Shamea was like shocked, like, what, where is she going with this? And the gist of the conversation was, Can't you just let me have this and you go over and do what you need to do? But this is my platform. You need to go and either be my support system or go away. That was the gist of the conversation. Now I've been on that show, was on that show, still am, still employed, not on the show currently, but for 12 years, I've seen and heard a lot. I've never lied on anybody.
That's the one thing I will sit and say that I agree with. Kenya, she's done a lot of messy things for sure. Cannot take that away from her, but she hasn't been a liar when it comes to these things, you know?
Never. Y'all know that. I just remember thinking, is that a friendship or a relationship of convenience? Because a friendship, you cheer your friends on no matter what. And I just remember this saying that Oprah said before, like, if you have a friend that even shows you a hint of them not wanting you to succeed or climb the rung in a ladder, they are not your friend.
We know they're not friends. So she's sitting here trying to give an educational moment, but it's like Shamea isn't a perfect friend either. So I'm not even sitting here cheering her on and rooting for her and saying, oh, poor Shamea, because I do believe that Shamea and Porsha are, you know, two sides of the same coin. They definitely have a lot of similarities, which is what allowed them to continue to be friends, even through her mom's or their moms, I should say, their mothers falling outs and situations and backstabbing and all that other stuff. I hadn't talked about that on the channel here, but I'm well aware of the situation with Portia's mom and Shamea's mom and the business situation and the dirty dealings. And I'll say this, I'm not a fan of that either. I'm somebody who has been in business for a while, and I've experienced and seen people get backstabbed, and it's just not cool. But people will do anything when it comes to money, and a lot of times people are just not loyal when it comes to finances.
I strongly believe that. If I don't have a girlfriend that's on the sidelines and me like, go girl, you better do that. What can I do for you? Shamea was like shocked. I'm going to call the producers. I'm going to call the network. I'm going to do everything I can. I need you by my side. I've done that before for a friend of mine, to the point where I'm putting my own job in jeopardy because I'm like, y'all should look at this girl. She is dynamic. She's beautiful. She is a housewife. She is the one you're looking for, and you're overlooking her and going so far out of my way. People were like, what is going on? What is the situation with you and this friend? Because she was somebody I truly cared about. She's my friend, and I believe she would be good in that role. However,
I think she's talking about, I cannot remember her name, but the lighter skinned chick that was on, not of course this season, but the last season, that was she wasn't, I don't think she was even like an official friend of, but she came on. She's married to a football player, I believe, and had a little small child. And I think I saw her at the grand opening of the Salon too. She had like a earring in her nose or something like that. So I think that's who she's referencing. Not that it matters, but I just wanted to talk about that.
however, that's not what I see with Shamea and Porsha. What I see is jealousy. What I see is somebody putting their foot on somebody's neck and saying, you stay down there. I want to be the queen of this. You go find your own thing, which is basically what she said. I mean, I think we already know what that is. It's not a friend. Anyways, no friend I would want to have.
Okay. So I'm assuming she was asked the question and she decided to dive into that topic. But it could have been a question that she had made up because she wanted to dive in it, because she wanted to go back at Porsha for Porsha being supportive of Brit in that whole situation. But listen, we already know that Porsha is like that. So she didn't reveal anything groundbreaking or like, oh, I cannot believe. We already know this about Porsha. And that's honestly one of the things that irritates me about some people. Be a fan girl or whoever you want to be a fangirl of, if that's what you want to be. But these fans out here that are like windmilling in comment sections about their queen, Porsha, there's nothing royal about this chick. She has this. I'm going to tell you, when it comes to Porsha, you know what she reminds me of? If you've been following the Diddy trial and you've been listening to, like Jane Doe, just using one of the people. If you were listening to Jane Doe's testimony, which I know we didn't hear it, but you've been listening to the coverage of it, a lot of people are like, she didn't have to subject herself to that. Why did she continue to go through it? She's not really a victim, blah, 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 blah. And I will say one of the reasons why I stopped talking about that case too is because the whole thing is a mess. And I also believe that, yeah, even though Diddy is a monster, it's not a clean case. They may find him guilty of RICO, they may not. I don't know. It's all in the hands of the jury at this point. But also, people like Jane Doe and even somewhat Cassie, even though Cassie we know was a victim of DV and that was wrong, the case isn't about DV. And so it's like hearing some of the things that Jane Doe was saying, it's like you wanted a lifestyle and you subjected yourself to stuff that you could have said, you know what, I'm out and just leave. You didn't have to stay there. And Porsha reminds me of somebody like Jane Doe. I don't know if you read her book, I didn't. But when she talked about her book and when she was promoting it, and remember when she talked about how she was in the R. Kelly mix too, and how she was at his house or his mansion, and she was brought there and she was locked into one of the bedrooms and she was just sitting in there waiting and blah, blah. She didn't know what was going on. And it's like, girl, you were not taken to a studio, you were taken to his home and you was put in a bedroom. You knew what you were there to do. Porsha is like those people. So anybody that sits and supports her and calls her a queen or whatever, Porsha has been able to get a leg up and a boost up in life because of what is between her legs and her butt and using those assets to get ahead. That's nothing to celebrate. That's nothing to deify, lift up, all of the other stuff that some people are doing. But nothing that Kenya said was groundbreaking. So I'm just like, yeah, we know this, but I know why you're talking about it. And that's okay. Do do what you do. Because Porsha talked about you, so it's like turnabout is fair play. So speaking about what's fair, let's get into Gizelle and Robyn. So they're still doing their podcast, Reasonably Shady. I haven't listened to it. Have you guys? If you are listening to it, let me know in the comment section what it's like, what they're talking about. But they seem to make the blogs when they are talking about the show. So I'm assuming they don't talk about the show very often because I don't really see much about this podcast at all. So to be honest with you, I didn't even know it was still a thing. But kudos to them. But let's get into what they were talking about when it comes to this Brit versus Bravo lawsuit. And I found it kind of funny, especially seeing Robyn talking about it, because it's like, girl, you're not even employed by the network anymore. So going to bat for Bravo, it seems like you're trying to audition to get back on. I could be wrong, but let's get into it.
First of all, reunion's not optional. I just want everybody to be clear. Like, you can't just skip the reunion if you still want your job. Right. Okay. Yeah. So, it's like clearly she don't want her job. Or walk off the reunion and not finish it. Just saying that too. Right. Okay. That too. So.
We know she's talking about Mia, right? Because she walked off the RHOP reunion and she has not come back. And I believe that's Gizelle's little dig and wink and nod at Bravo production to say, look, I know she's been trying to audition for a Peach, but she doesn't deserve to be on that franchise either.
She put a message out that said, like, oh, I recently found out that the pictures that Kenya posted or, printed out weren't actually me. Right. So what? Is that what the lawsuit? What is she suing Bravo and Truly Production for?
First of all, that wasn't the only image that Kenya plastered on these poster boards in front of everyone to see. And the intent was to embarrass her, one. And she was showing, other images of her too to embarrass her. And production knew about it. And when Brit asked to see the images, which is something that was revealed recently and in the lawsuit, she said she was declined and she wasn't able to see it until after everything had already aired. And so that's not right. And even creating deep fakes, not saying that Kenya created the image, but that was the intent. People can create deep fakes of people that AI images of people doing things that they never did and showcase it, that is not something that you can do either. You can sue someone for that, and be it can be upheld. So that they're not going to decline it and say, "Oh, well, that wasn't really you. They just made it up to make it seem like it was you." That is the whole point. The intent, not just the fact that it was not her. So Robyn sounds stupid right now, and Gizelle agreeing with her. But let's continue.
The original.
I don't know.
Like-
I'm very confused.
But you filmed this whole incident happened.
Yeah.
You filmed an entire season.
Yeah.
You showed up to work. Like you were fine.
You were fine.
They actually got rid of the person that printed your supposed pictures.
Yeah. Kenya's gone. Where Kenya should be back.
Right.
And okay, let me say this. If anybody should be suing, I think it's Kenya.
Right.
Like, or if anybody might have a suit. Maybe. First of all, reunion's not optional. I just want everybody to be clear. Maybe it's Kenya. Not this girl.
Right. Not her. I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't even understand. I can't wrap my head around what she would be suing for.
You know what I said to myself? And I'm not pointing any finger at anyone.
Okay.
But I said to myself, I don't know who's doing casting. When I say I don't know who's doing casting, I'm lying. Do better. Do better.
She's one to talk. Now, while I won't disagree with her about the Brit casting, it's like the chick that you're doing this podcast with was a bad choice as well. So, pot, meet kettle.
Because this could have all been avoided.
Well, yeah. But I think some people don't present their real selves during the casting process.
Oh my God, this one talking about not presenting their real selves when she hid a whole storyline because she didn't want it to be talked about on the show. That's one of the main reasons why they got rid of her after the next season. But oh my, the hypocrisy in this room.
Yeah. Okay, but there was history on this girl. She was a Stevie J girl.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much that should have signaled to them. This is not a good choice.
Yes. Yeah. I wonder why they made that decision. I don't know. But yeah, so that's a hot mess. That's a hot mess.
That is very.
And then
hot
Kenya
mess.
wasn't at the reunion.
No.
Like, and she kind of like made an announcement saying like she was uninvited to the reunion or something like. But I didn't I didn't expect to see her at the reunion.
No, I didn't expect to see her either. I mean, listen, I think that if they would have known that this girl wasn't coming, yes, I'm sure they would have called Kenya and been like, hey, maybe. I'm sure they would have called Kenya and been like, hey, just come give your point of view, maybe. I don't know. Or at this point, everyone could give their point of view of what happened.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the other ladies had something to say.
Yeah.
Like, Kenya, you were wrong for that or whatever. Or it just would have even given Kenya the opportunity to apologize if she wanted to apologize. Just state your case.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you know, I guess it would have been nice to give her the opportunity just to speak on it, apologize.
Yeah.
You know, whatever, give a statement, something, and just be done with that. So that would have been nice to give her the opportunity to do that. So,
yeah.
You know, and it seems like Kenya's been like deeply affected by this whole experience.
Yes,
you know?
no, totally.
Yeah.
Because I think that, she didn't feel supported. Everybody gets in their feelings when they feel like they're not being protected or supported.
Right.
And, Kenya has made it known like she didn't feel protected by the production company.
So yeah, listen, I'm not disagreeing with everything that was said, but I just find it funny for these two to be sitting here talking about it. And then they really don't know the whole situation. Brit definitely should not have been casted for the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and Kenya definitely should have been but she should have been allowed to continue to film and also to be a part of the reunion. But for them to talk about the lawsuit, I really feel like you don't really know exactly what you're talking about. And then to talk about not presenting their real selves, like Robyn is one to speak. And Gizelle, let's be clear, because Gizelle, the only thing that she really brought to the show that was genuine were her children. Her relationships, like her real life. Who are you screwing? I'm just asking the question. I'm not saying she actually is doing that, but it's just like a generalized question. Who are you screwing to continue to be allowed to be a part of this franchise too? And then I wonder how she feels about Monique Samuels coming back, because I know she can't stand Monique. So it's like, you fired me, but you're going to bring this chick back as a friend of who beat someone up. Now, I know she doesn't care about who she beat up because she's not friends with Candace anymore at this point either. But anyway, I just wonder how she feels about it. But you guys let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comments because I really find it ironic that they're sitting here talking about people who shouldn't be casted on the show or whatever. And it's like, girl, you're doing a podcast with one. So anyway, or we could say the same thing about both of them. You let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. Thanks for being here, liking, and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.